Is everybody ready? We're all good. Thank you all for being here. Ordinarily, this would be our Monday press conference in which we focus on two different things. One of them being gun violence data and another being a related special topic. That is not what we're doing today. This press conference is yielding to the needs and the wishes and the priorities of the family of Kada Scott in the process of addressing those needs. We will be announcing that there are new charges being brought against Keon King. We'll get into the details, but the bottom line is a second case has already been approved, and we expect there to be a new arrest today, in all likelihood, of Keon King when he is brought in from the jail. The arrest will be for burning of a car, arson, causing catastrophe, conspiracy, several other charges, and we'll get into the details of that in a moment. But more than anything, as I said, this is a press conference that I hope will in some way address some of the needs and wishes of the family. At this time, I'd like to identify some of the good people who are here. We have with us Philadelphia City Council member Anthony Phillips from the 9th Council District, who has been extremely heavily involved in addressing the family's needs, as have other city officials. Extremely heavily involved, including in a meeting with the family where I was also present. He will be talking about the efforts that his office is making specifically to address the family's needs when he speaks later during this conference. We have First Assistant DA Robert Listenby here, ADA Ashley Tizlowski of the DAO's Homicide Non-Fatal Shooting Unit, who is handling this matter in close communication with me and others, but is handling this matter. We'll be addressing some of the new developments in the case. ADA Bob Wainwright, who is her chief, the chief of the DAO's Homicide Non-Fatal Shooting Unit, is present. Mariel Dela Cruz, who is the director of the DAO's Victim Services Unit, is here. Donna Wood, who is director of DAO's Relocation Unit, is here. We have Tania Leonard with us today, who is the director of the DAO's CARES Unit. And we have Marcus Allen. Mr. Allen is the cousin of Kada Scott on the mother's side, and he is present here on behalf of the family of Kada Scott. While he will not be reading it, he will be standing with us when a statement from the mother and father of Kada Scott is read today. That statement will also be put up on the screen so that you will have the text of it. Over the last several weeks, Mayor Sherrell Parker, the Philadelphia Police Department, the Philadelphia DA's office, elected local officials as well as faith leaders and community leaders have been showing acts of kindness, support, advocacy, prayer for Kada Scott's family. Yesterday, I had the chance to visit Kada Scott's mother, father, sister, uncle, and cousins, along with Philadelphia City Council member Anthony Phillips and some other members of our team, to speak to them, to listen to, and to access their current needs, to explore how the DAO can assist them and walk with them through this horrific and difficult journey, to express our condolences to them in person, and to offer resources through our external engagement operations, which include our Victim Services Unit and our CARES Unit. We also were there to provide the most recent update on the investigation, to answer their questions about the prosecutorial process, its details, its timing, and what they, as a family, can expect next in the criminal justice process. It was very important to me for them to get some details about the case, which is developing almost hourly from us, and not just from the media. And that is no disrespect to the media, but it's hard for a family to read and learn things about a loved one for the first time on a television screen or on social media or by reading an article. So we wanted to make sure that we conveyed to them as early as possible, as much as possible, so that they would have the information that they wanted and that they needed. During the sit-down with the family, we made a commitment that today's press conference would be all about their daughter. And therefore, as I've already mentioned, there are certain things that we want to cover today. We want to cover a statement that is to be read and released to the media on behalf of the family, specifically written and approved by the mother and father of Kada Scott. We want to cover some recent developments within the investigation and prosecution of Keon King. We want to continue our request for the community's assistance, tips, and information that would help the investigation and strengthen the prosecution against defendant Keon King. Let's understand the community has already done tremendous work in aiding progress with this investigation. We are simply asking for more. And we also want to convey the upcoming effort to support the family of Kada Scott, led by City Council member Anthony Phillips of the 9th Council District, including the use of his office for that purpose, and we will let him speak about that. I'd like to start with the family's statement. Tania Leonard, who is the director of the DAO's CARES unit, and Mariel Dela Cruz, Jessica Serrano, victim witness coordinator, will stand with Tania, is going to read that statement on behalf of the family. Standing with them, of course, will be Mr. Marcus Allen. Although he will not be speaking today, he will be here at their request and as their presence in this moment. You should know that Tania, who was present when Councilmember Phillips and I spoke to the family, will be working collaboratively with them and with our internal and external victim advocates to prioritize critical, necessary services to support the family and communities that are impacted by this horrific killing. Tania Leonard and friends.
Good morning. I'm Tania Leonard, the Director of Crisis Assistance, Response, and Engagement Unit here at the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. And on behalf of the CARES unit, I want to begin by extending our deepest care and support to the family of Kada Scott during this unimaginable, difficult time. CARES was created to stand with families who have experienced this type of tragedy and to walk beside them, help them access the support they need, and ensure they are not alone in days and weeks ahead. Yesterday evening, members of our team met with the mother and father of Kada Scott at their home alongside the District Attorney to offer our continued presence, resources, and support as they navigate this profound loss. At this time, with the family's permission, we'll share a statement prepared by Kada's mother and father as we stand in solidarity with the family as a unit, as victim advocates, and as an office during this journey of grief and healing. Today, we'll say her name. Tomorrow, we'll say her name. And forever, we will say her name. It is with profound sadness that we share the tragic passing of our beloved daughter, Kada Scott. We kindly ask for space and privacy at this time as we process the heartbreaking events of the past few weeks. Our hearts are shattered, yet we are deeply grateful for the outpouring of love, support, and prayers from people across the nation and around the world. Please continue to keep us in prayer as we navigate this unimaginable loss. Our hearts are broken beyond measure. We are profoundly thankful to every person who shared Kada's story, joined the search efforts, prayed with us, and stood by our family during this devastating time. Your compassion, love, and strength have carried us when we could not carry ourselves. Kada was deeply loved. Her light, kindness, and beautiful spirit will forever remain in our hearts. We also wish to extend our heartfelt gratitude to Mayor Sherelle Parker, the Philadelphia Police Department, all first responders, local volunteers, community organizations, and media outlets, as well as everyone who worked tirelessly to help find our daughter. Although the outcome is one no parent should ever have to face, we remain thankful for the unity, leadership, and love that surrounded us through it all. As we continue to grieve, our family now seeks justice for Kada. We place our full trust in the Philadelphia Police Department and the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office to ensure that the truth is revealed and that those responsible are held accountable to the fullest extent of the law. Please honor Kada's memory by showing kindness and care to one another, just as she did every day of her life. With love, strength, and gratitude, the family of Kada Scott.
Thank you, Tanya Leonard. Ashley Tezlowski will be, at this time, lead counsel in the prosecution of Keon King and has been working tirelessly on every aspect of the case, including obtaining a warrant that contains additional charges. Those charges include arson, causing catastrophe, conspiracy, unauthorized use of an automobile, receiving stolen property, reckless endangerment of another person, tampering with evidence. We are not done, but this is a significant development in the prosecution itself, and obviously there have been other developments already reported over the weekend in the case. It is my pleasure to call forward Ashley Tezlowski, who does about as good a job as anyone I've ever seen.
Thank you. As of last night, our office approved charges, as the DA just said, of arson, causing catastrophe, conspiracy, unauthorized use of an automobile, tampering with evidence, recklessly endangering another person, and receipt of stolen property. Those charges are in reference to the burning of a vehicle. That vehicle is a 2008 black Hyundai Accent. That vehicle first entered our radar last week. Investigators received a tip that there was a vehicle burning and that vehicle had some connection to this case. At the time last week, when investigators went to the location where the vehicle was burned, that vehicle was no longer there. It had already been towed, compacted, and was in a junkyard. This weekend, we recovered additional evidence, including video evidence that confirms that this vehicle, we believe, is the vehicle that Mr. Keon King used to move Ms. Scott. We recovered video out from near the Ada Lewis Middle School, where our search and the investigator search has been focused. There's a rec center directly next to that school. Video evidence was recovered from that rec center, and we are now able to say that this Hyundai Accent was on location at all of the times we're looking at all of the pertinent points in the investigation. That vehicle was stolen on October 3rd from the area of 6600 Sprague Street. We believe that vehicle is the vehicle that was used in this case. That vehicle was then on scene at that rec center, which ultimately, as we all know, is where we found Ms. Scott's human remains. Video evidence indicates it was on location. Video evidence then indicates it leaves the location. It is burned on October 7th. It was located at the 2300 block of 74th Avenue. When this new video evidence was uncovered this weekend, investigators from the homicide unit cross-referenced all of this information with the cell phone evidence that we had already gained and we had already been using in terms of the kidnapping case and other charges. What I can share is that the cell phone evidence, the call detail records, and timing advance data as it pertains to Keon King's mobile device puts him at all of the locations that we're talking about. It's on scene when the Hyundai Accent is there at the recreation center. It is on scene when the vehicle is burned. Based on that, last night I approved those charges, and As the DA said, we should have more information in terms of bail and a preliminary hearing date, hopefully this afternoon or certainly by tomorrow.
Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate those details. Just a reminder to those in the public who have been so helpful, I think you just heard Ashley Teslowski talking about the fact that this burning automobile was connected to this case in part due to a tip from the public. I'm not kidding when I say that the public has played an enormous role here. I would ask residents of Philadelphia to continue reaching out with tips and information to seek justice for the family of Kada Scott and to allow us to have all the facts so we can justly and vigorously prosecute defendant Keon King and any other people who may have been involved with his activity. The Philadelphia Police Department can accept this information at 215-686-TIPS. In other words, 215-686-TIPS. You could also call the DA's office at 215-686-8000, and we will make sure that your information is considered as an aspect of this investigation. It is now my pleasure to introduce Philadelphia City Council member Anthony Phillips of the 9th Council District, who has been on this, along with other city officials, to include Mayor Sherrell Parker, Police Commissioner Kevin Bethel, Council President Kenyatta Johnson, faith leaders, members of the faith community. Councilmember Phillips has been there from the start, and he has more to do. He has more to say about what it is the public can do to further assist this family. We are excited to have the opportunity to support the upcoming efforts of Councilmember Phillips in the mighty 9th Council District. And we are also delighted to continue our collaboration and partnership with him in many other ways as well. Councilmember Phillips.
Good morning. Thank you, District Attorney Krasner, for your efforts to bring this monster to justice. I'm not here to talk about the monster. I'm here to talk about Kada and the family. As District Attorney pointed out just recently, we had the opportunity to meet with the family of Kada. We had, quite some private conversation about some things that were really important to the family. And what we determined from that conversation from the family is the kindness and wonderfulness of who Kada was. And after speaking with the family, they told us some things that could be helpful to them. And so myself and our office has decided that we're going to try to support them in their efforts to help them with their needs. But before I begin, I just want to make this announcement. I just want to say that Kada Scott mattered. Her life matters. She was a kind woman. She, as the family has pointed out, Kada was kind. She was kind in how she helped support the elderly at her work. She was kind to her friends. She was kind to her family. Her school teachers that she had, high school principals talked about her. Her college administrators and staff and professors have spoken about her. They talked about her contagious joy and smile and wonderfulness. And so we're reminded that, tragedy strikes here in Philadelphia, and nothing can cease the pain that this family is going through. But what we can do as a city, and what we've been doing for the past several weeks as a city, is showing our kindness to this family. Because Kada is someone who could have been our sister, our cousin, just someone that is a friend or family member in our lives. That decency is something that we know throughout our lives, and it could have been anybody, any one of us. So I want you to know that because of that, Philadelphia cares, and because the family has asked for us to show kindness, to leave her legacy of kindness in a way that is shown and demonstrated. Today, our office has the intentions to open up a collection effort starting tomorrow with our office to collect gifts and items for Kada's family. Some of the items the 9th District Office is accepting for the Scott family during this difficult time include self-care items, toiletries, comfort and relaxation products, gift cards such as meal delivery services, or general gift cards such as a Visa gift card or other store-related gift cards. For food, non-perishable food items, these gifts are intended for Kada's mother, father, and high school age sister, a young woman. The high school age sister is a young woman who continues to show incredible strength as she strives to prepare for college amid such heartbreak. We want her to know that her entire community stands behind her and cheering her on. So, if donations can be dropped off at our office, City Councilmember Anthony Phillips' office on Wadsworth Avenue, located at 1514 Wadsworth Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19150. Our office is going to be open from 8:30 to 4:30, Tuesday through Friday, starting this week. We're going to have special Saturday hours on Saturday from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Where people can send their donations, bring their donations as well. If you have any questions, please call our office at 215-686-3454. This is an opportunity, again, for the city of Philadelphia to reflect the kindness. Again, I want to say this is an opportunity for the city of Philadelphia to reflect the kindness that Kada has shared. And we've already done that by helping promote and get the level of justice that she needs. But now let's show the family that we're not only there for them in that tragic moment, but we're going to be there for them after. So please, please make sure that we get as many donations as possible to 1514 Wadsworth Avenue, October 21st to the 25th. Our office is open 8:30 to 4:30 from Tuesday through Friday. And this Saturday, we're going to be open from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Again, self-care items, gift cards, and food and non-perishable items. Also want to remind folks that we did have opportunity to speak to the family. And one of the things that the family did note to us, which is really important, is that they did say in their statement, respect their privacy. So that's why we're collecting the donations at our office, and we're going to be delivering it to them at a location that they want to be delivered to. But I want you to also know that they don't want people knocking on their doors, including members of the press, because it's traumatizing for them right now. You know, it's really traumatizing for them right now. And so we would like for folks to just hang off, members of the press to hang off for now from knocking on their doors, because that's what the family has desired. And I just, you know, we want to make sure that we, you know, we respect their wishes. All right? Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Phillips. All right, at this time we will go to questions. I would say this, as I look at this list, this is about as long a list of journalists as I've seen in quite some time. So, a couple of ground rules. Please try to confine your questions to one or two. If there's additional follow-up, we can try to address that later, just so we can give everyone their opportunity. Number two, these questions I'm going to ask you out of respect for the family who are present here should be on the topic of today's press conference, please. And that's not the first time I've requested it. I'm sure that you understand why. And to the extent that you can confine them to the topics we are addressing today, please understand this is an ever-evolving, developing situation, both in terms of investigation and prosecution. There are things that we know today that we cannot tell you. And we cannot tell you for a variety of reasons. The integrity of the investigation, safety, the trauma that the family is dealing with is not best handled by their finding things out for the first time in the media. So we will try to be as transparent and open as we can, consistent with those obligations and consistent with the purpose of this press conference, which is to respect the family's needs and wishes. Channel 3 CBS, I see Joe Holden and Josh Sanders.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I'll try to rattle these off, Mr. Krasner. First, can you give us any more information about the tip that leads police back to Ada Lewis? Secondly, how does she really meet Keon King, if you know? And then third, have there been any conversations about how King is out again after multiple, are you retraining people in your staff?
All right, so that's 3 questions. Let me address the third one. We are always trying to do better. We have already acknowledged, and I'll acknowledge again, we could have done better with respect to one or more of the decisions that were made in a case that was otherwise handled well. And we are looking at a variety of different options that I think are appropriate for the lessons that we have learned in this case. As for your other 2 questions, I'm going to ask Ashley Tuzlowski to come forward to answer them for you.
So in terms of your first question about the tip, what I can share is that obviously initially we received a tip to go to a meeting last week. We received a tip to go to the Ada Lewis Middle School. Investigators went, did a thorough search. Essentially what the new tip was this weekend was go back. It was go back, she's there, look again, and they did give more specific details in terms of where to look. And ultimately that is what led us to her.
Text, email, can you say how?
I'm not going to say how. Obviously, we are investigating the tip, and we'll continue to do that, but the tip was more specific than the first. It was very specific to go back, and it was more specific in terms of where to look, and that is what the police did. And I'm sorry, your second question was?
How do they know each other?
I'm still not going to comment on that. It's something that is actively being investigated. Obviously, they knew each other to some extent. We believe in terms of maybe there was some cell phone communication, obviously. But other than that, I'm not going to comment in terms of how they know each other. That's something that's still, or where they met or how long they knew each other, because that is something that's still being investigated.
Channel 6 ABC, Tarhonda Thomas. Did I pronounce? My apologies.
Can I follow up to my colleague real quick? Just two questions.
You're Channel 3 CBS as well? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Of course, yeah.
Just 2 follow-up questions. You mentioned lessons learned. I wonder if you could give the specifics of those lessons that your office has learned in this. And my second question is, does this tipster have any relationship to Keon?
All right. So we're now getting into 5 questions from one station, but let me see what I can do for you. All right. I'm not going to get into all of the specifics other than to say that we have already discussed in this office the value that we have seen for certain kinds of cases in specialization. It's something that we have done before in changing the way things have been done literally for decades in this office. I'll leave my comment on that point there. Your second question again, sir?
The tipster, are they related to Keon King?
When you say the tipster, you're speaking of the tipster for the...
Who followed up with the tip, said go back and gave more details and be specific. Is this a family member of Keon King or someone related to Keon King?
I think I know what the answer is going to be, but let me check with Ashley Tuzlowski. What's the answer? Well, that answer is a little different than I expected. The answer is we don't know, and we are investigating it at this time. All right. Taronda, I apologize for mispronouncing.
I want to make sure a point of clarification. Has the medical examiner officially confirmed that this is Kada Scott and they have positive identification? And then my second question is, going back to the case in January related to this, who withdrew the charges? Was it something that the PA's office did, the judge? Make that clarification.
So as for your first question, it has been confirmed that these are the human remains of Kada Scott, and that has been confirmed by DNA. I believe that's also been reported. There was some erroneous reporting that it was quick DNA. It was actually not quick DNA. It was the regular DNA. So that is resolved. And I'm sorry, your second question?
The second question was about the withdrawal of the charges with the January case. Who decided to withdraw those cases? Was it something like done by the judge, the district attorney's office? And just as it relates to the witness not showing up, would it have been sufficient if that witness, for instance, gave a statement to police that was on video? Or was that something that was there and not able to be used?
So, Ms. Thomas, this is something we addressed previously. I'll go over it again in summary form. But this is a situation in which there were actually two witnesses. There was a complainant. There was an eyewitness. There were good efforts to have the case prepared, to contact them, to speak to them. There were good efforts to subpoena them. Nothing is perfect in this life, but that was all handled well. The case was marked must be tried by a judge at the first listing when these witnesses did not appear. Neither one of them appeared for either one of these two listings. That is a judicial decision. It is not our decision. And then on the second occasion, when these two witnesses did not appear again, the attorney who was handling this case was faced with having the case either thrown out or withdrawn. There are certain strategic reasons why it can be better to have it withdrawn. But understand, when a judge of a particular level, and here it's the municipal court, rules that this is a must-be-tried case, that, under the laws that exist, requires the second judge to throw it out if the case is not ready to be tried. As we have indicated before, I do believe that there is a way this could have been presented without those witnesses. The buck stops here. That is on me, that it was not handled in that fashion. But I also believe, as I've said before, that it's a tough situation, especially in domestic cases, when you have a defendant out of custody who's going to come in and out of the courthouse doors just like those witnesses. All right, Channel 10, Telemundo.
Right, you've been watching an update here from District Attorney Larry Krasner on the discovery of Kada Scott's body over the weekend behind the abandoned middle school they initially went out to last week. That is where they found her remains. Just a few of the highlights that they'd mentioned. Now there's some new charges in this case. Keon King, 21-year-old, who was charged with kidnapping, is also being charged with arson and conspiracy in relation to a black Hyundai that was later found burned. They believe that was the vehicle that was used to transport Kada Scott. So those are new charges filed today. We also heard a statement from the family saying their hearts were shattered. They do appreciate the support, but they said honor Kada's memory by showing kindness to others. After all the family has been through, they have a message of love. We'll have much more today on Action News at noon. Now back to The View.
$80,000 people today knocking on doors for him, and that's how you win elections. Yeah. And that's what I believe. That's what I always believe. You don't go to people of money and do all these stupid 30-second ads. You mobilize people at the grassroots level. And I think in terms of democratic socialism, what people understand is there is something wrong in America today when one man, Mr. Musk, owns more wealth than the bottom 52% of American households. Am I right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. When we have more income and wealth inequality than we've ever had, when in the richest country in the world we have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major nation, the highest rate of senior poverty of almost any nation, we have a healthcare system which is falling apart, kids can't afford to go to college, housing crisis, and people are saying, you know what, here's the radical idea. This is what democratic socialism basically means. Let's have a government that works for all the people, not just the billionaire class. Mm-hmm. Let's end a corrupt campaign finance system that allows billionaires in both political parties to determine who wins elections. Let's create the kind of democracy, that Lincoln talked about way back when he said a government of the people, by the people, for the people.
Yeah. Can I ask you quickly, on Friday we saw that Trump let George Santos out of jail. At the same time, though, that he's going after folks like James Comey and Letitia James. So how are you feeling about this, what I think most Americans see as an unequal display of judicial accountability and the weaponizing of government?
And he just happened to pardon, well, was it over 1,000 people who tried to overthrow the United States government?
Yeah. January 6th.
All right. And meanwhile, in an unprecedented way, and this is scary stuff,
the prosecution itself, because it's part of a larger story. But what we are announcing today in and of itself is a second case. Could there be additional cases if there are other victims who come forward? Yes, there could be additional cases if there are other victims who come forward. There could be additional cases as more evidence develops and we have probable cause to bring more charges for things that happened over this period of a few weeks.
Nobody else stepped forward so far.
I'm not going to comment on that at this time.
My second question is kind of more of the timeline. So just in my head, there's a lot of information. October 3rd, the car is stolen. We believe Mr. King stole that car, and then obviously she disappears October 4th. Then October 7th, the car is found burned and I guess towed away. At the rec center, is the car after it's stolen, or October 4th, is that the car that's used? We believe that Kada is in with Mr. King and they're at the rec center. When are they at the rec center? In between that October 3rd, when the car is stolen, and October 7th, when the car is found burned and destroyed?
Well, I think you raise a very good point that the timeline is a little bit complex and confusing. And especially if you're talking about more than one car being used in more than one place, it's probably helpful to go through that timeline. So I'm going to ask Ashley Teslowski to come forward. And even though, we've been talking about this so quickly that we sometimes don't slow down to identify exactly what place, exactly what car, I'm going to ask Ashley as best as she can to explain this as if she were explaining to people who didn't know anything about it.
Thank you.
So in terms of the timeline, you pretty much got it accurate, meaning the car was stolen on October 3rd. Obviously, Ms. Scott goes missing the next day. That vehicle then, we believe, immediately goes to the rec center. We believe it remains there for about a day and a half until it then leaves and the car is burned. In terms of what the video showed or what we know about what happened there, I'm not going to comment on. I think there will be an appropriate time for those details to come out, and that appropriate time would be at the preliminary hearing when all of the evidence is presented. But in terms of a timeline, you had it right. October 3rd, the vehicle goes missing. October 4th, she goes missing. We then pick up the vehicle at that location where it remains for about a day and a half. It then leaves and is burned the next day on October 7th.
You believe Mr. King stole that car? Did somebody else steal that car and you happen to just be in it?
I don't want to comment about what I believe happened. All I can say at this point is what the evidence that we have, and what I can say is the evidence that we have is that Mr. King's phone is on location when that vehicle is at the rec center, and it's on location when the car is burned. That is what we know right now.
Was it on location when it was stolen?
We have it in the area, but we do not have it on location. That's not to say he wasn't there. All we can do is look at the cell phone evidence that we have in terms of when calls are being made and when data can be plotted, if that makes sense.
All right, let me see. Channel 17, John Leonard. Do you have any questions, sir? Thank you. 29 Fox, Kelly Rule.
I think actually someone answered this, but the video evidence from the rec center, are you able to say if that shows anybody working with King? Or can you comment on additional suspects?
Well, let me just note this, and then once again I'll bring Ashley up. But you may have noticed that we're charging conspiracy with reference to the arson. Now that's a separate place and time, but we don't bring charges unless we have probable cause. Let me now ask Ashley to come forward.
My answer is essentially going to be the same thing, right? I mean, obviously we did charge conspiracy, so at this point we do have reason to believe that other people may have been involved after the fact, but in terms of who those people are and the level of their involvement, I'm not going to comment at this time. It's very much still being investigated.
And you mentioned that the car was towed and impounded. Is it believed that King had anything to do with that, or that was just the community making calls saying like it was car?
There was a 911 call that a vehicle was on fire. So police did respond to it. The fire department responded to it, ruled it an arson, and then at that point, when they were finished with their investigation, the car was demolished. It was burned, so it was taken and towed and compacted and yeah.
Demolished before they could pull evidence from the car.
Yes. Well, and I'll say when we got there, it was completely compacted, right? What the tow company had already done or what the junkyard had done had already been done. With that being said, the car had been completely burned. And in terms of being able to tell what happened, the fire department was able to say it was an arson, and we're also able to have video to kind of piece things together. So there's no question about what happened. We were able to determine that.
Thank you. All right, let me see. Kristen Johansson, KYW.
2 questions. One's for Ashley. How does the car play in the gold Camry play in then to this whole? Because we're going to have to say something about the gold car.
Yes, so what I can say at this time is that at the point where the Hyundai Accent is on scene, on video at the rec center leading up to all of the events we're talking about, the other car, the Toyota, is there as well, and we believe the people in these vehicles are working together.
And then the other thing is how much, as far as volumes, how much surveillance video is it? Because I know there was a lot of verifications. Yeah. So how much, it's hard probably to quantify, but.
We have extensive amounts of video information at this point, and it's still being retrieved as we speak, and I expect there will be more. It is a lot of video. What I can say is that initially when the video was recovered, they were reviewing it kind of in real time as it was being recovered, and that's the information I'm basing this all off of today. There will be more, and there is more, and their detectives will continue to go through all of the video. It's a lot of video.
And then for District Attorney Larry Krasner, there's obviously been a lot of criticism of your office and how your office handled this case, but also additionally how bail was handled in general. What can you do to ensure, or I guess ensure the proof to the public, or there's probably a better word there, ensure the public that there's not another Kada Scott that's going to come out, that there's not going to be another kind of case like this where case is withdrawn, it's violence against women, case withdrawn, bail was not, appealed immediately. It seems that you're putting the blame on the judges for that. How can you ensure that there's not going to be another Kada Scott?
Well, actually, I think it was pretty clear that I wasn't putting the blame on the judges. I think I was pretty clear that I was blaming the existence of cash bail. And systemically, we all have to try to do better. The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania should stop making money off of bail, and they should go to a system that is much more effective, one where truly dangerous people remain in custody, and that has worked for more than 3 decades in D.C., and that is about 12% of defendants, and where the rest of those defendants are not required to pay money because, for the most part, they face much less serious charges, and the only reason they're in jail is because they're broke. The bail system is broke. That should be fixed. That was not a criticism of individual judges. That was a criticism of that system. What I can tell you is that the buck stops here. We recognize that there are some things that could have been done better in this case. From the moment this occurred, we have been looking at ways that we can improve our systems, because we have to be open to systemic change as well, and we will have further announcements about that in the future.
So have you done any policy reviews or looked at anything? Anything specific that you can tell the public about that?
We are actively looking at ways that we can do better. It is, it's everybody's view of this is always clear when you're looking back and you have fuller knowledge. Nobody's view is quite as clear, whether it's a judge setting bail or it's a prosecutor making a decision. Nobody's view is quite as clear earlier. We need to try to change that. We need to try to find ways to be better at making sure that there are as few errors as possible and that there is as much protection as possible, especially in the current environment women face. Jesse Bunch, Philadelphia Inquirer.
So this is also about how prosecutors handled King's prior cases. We're seeing a warrant was signed on King's second case, the kidnapping charge, on January 19th. And then King wouldn't be arrested and charged for that several months later. But in February, King would have had to appear in court for that first assault case from December. So I'm asking, why wasn't King taken into custody in February at the CJC if he had that open warrant out for him for the kidnapping charge?
I have to admit, I lost track somewhere in the middle there, and I don't say that to be in any way dismissive. Can you just say that again, please, so I can make sure that Ashley and I hear your point?
So for King's case in February, for the charges from December, in between that, there was a second case open against him, the kidnapping charges from January. There would have been an open warrant when he appeared in court in February for a different case, at least in my understanding. So we're just wondering why that was he not arrested and charged until April.
Let me see if I can help you with that. All right.
So what I was just sharing with the DA was, in front of me, I don't have the date that warrant was actually dropped against Mr. King. I don't know if you have that or if you're just assuming that there was a warrant at the time, because I know he wasn't arrested until closer to April, and I believe the warrant was closer to that, but again, I don't have the date that that warrant came through, meaning I can't stand here and say that that warrant was active at the time he appeared. I don't have that in front of me.
We saw January 19th.
I'm not saying you're wrong, I just don't have it in front of me. You know, in terms of when the warrant came through, I don't know. But obviously, once he was arrested, bail was set at that time.
All right, let me see. Tom McDonald, WHYY.
I know you don't have a specific timetable, but in similar cases like this, where there's a homicide in question, how long does it usually take for the results from the autopsy to move forward so you can charge?
I think that's a great question. I'm just trying to, consistent with our need to protect certain information and provide certain information, I'm just trying to figure out how much we can say to answer that. If you don't mind, I'm going to huddle up with Bob Wainwright and with Ashley Teslowski and see what we can say.
All right, to answer your question, how long does it typically take? It typically takes a short amount of time when the incident happens and the body is found immediately afterwards. Cases like this, it may take longer. So there's really no exact answer to that. And what we all know is that Kada Scott's human remains were found 2 weeks after she went missing. So it is not, there's no, what I can tell you also is that the medical examiner's office is actively working on this, and we're waiting on a cause and manner of death, and we should have that information as soon as possible.
But you're preparing homicide charges?
I think that's a fair statement.
All right, let me see. Sherry Stone, Philadelphia Tribune. What I can say is we are not in a position to convey that information at this time. There is a very serious forensic effort here to get it right, and we don't want to get ahead of that, but as soon as, consistent with the family's needs and wishes, as soon as we are able to confirm precisely the answer to that question, it will be communicated either in a courtroom or in terms of press availability, once again, in consultation with the family. Jack Tomchuk from the Metro.
Kind of following up on Tom's question, I guess, I think the reason why I think, why I think a murder charge is wrong is that just waiting for the medical examiner or because, you said the remains have been confirmed again.
Well, I will say this. I am confident that homicide charges will be brought, but I also have an obligation to follow the law and uphold the Constitution, and that means we don't take shortcuts. We don't make assumptions. We confirm all the facts before we figure out the legal conclusion to be drawn. So we will be proceeding with homicide charges when we can very precisely confirm everything we need for probable cause, and we will do so as quickly as we can once we have confirmed what we need to establish probable cause for that particular charge. All right, Mr. Dean from the Trace.
Yes, the language, the bail system, as for the previous case that Will King, then in the second reference said,
Right.
Practically speaking, does that mean for you? What are the consequences for you when the buck stops? Does that mean?
Well, let me just be clear. I mean, blame is a word people seem to like. I have not been a fan of cash bail from the beginning because I think it endangers the public. I have spoken about this going back almost 7 years, and I am aware of the reasons that it continues to exist in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. They're not wonderful. Let me put it that way. That is a truth. I hold that truth, and I think it would be a great advance if this state, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, would get away from cash bail and go in the direction of no cash bail, where some people, no matter what their resources, are going to be held because they're a danger. I wish we would go that way. So I do hold that truth, but I also hold the truth that we can do better, that we should try to do better every day, that even though many decisions, many aspects of the preparation of this case were solid, that there were other aspects of the preparation of this case where we could do better. So I say the buck stops here because in an office of 650 people, it is my responsibility. If there is an attorney who makes a decision, and if that decision is not the best one that could have been made. Yes, sir.
Well, you know, your critics will say this is exactly what we've been talking about for the last 50 years. Larry Krasner bungles cases, criminals at the revolving door. There's office with criminals coming in and going out back on the street. This is exactly what they're talking about. And you're running for re-election in 2 weeks for a third term. Should this be on the ballot? Should people consider that how this case was handled when they go into vote on November 4th?
Well, your question is fundamentally political, and I'm not allowed to answer political questions using city resources. It's an ethical violation, so I will respectfully pass on that question. Dan Horan from Philly FPV. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Yes, sir.
One question. You guys stated that the car was there for about a day and a half in between the elementary school and the rec center. Does King's mobile phone data show that he was also on that location for that duration of time?
Let me bring up the expert here.
So again, I'm not going to go into specifics about what occurred during that time. However, what I could tell you, at pertinent points in the video where we believe he was there, his cell phone evidence also puts him there. So it's not the entire time, but at the pertinent points where we're looking for him to be there, his cell phone puts him there, if that helps.
Thank you.
Michaela Althouse, Philly Voice.
The case from earlier this year, is there any update on that beyond what has been reopened?
So charges against that, as you said, have been refiled. It is listed for its kind of first preliminary hearing listing after the refile on November 4th.
Mr. Cipriano, big trial.
Mr. President, 4 years ago, when you were running for re-election, your office failed to prosecute a domestic abuser and eventual murderer of a Hispanic mother, Gladys Orellana.
Mr. Cipriano, questions are about this press conference, not about your wandering view of the planet. Do you have a question that goes to the subject matter here?
And here we are 4 years later, and you and your inexperienced team of, quote, superstars that you repeatedly bragged about, comparing them to Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley, by the incompetence, inexperience, or ideology goals of your rhetoric are directly responsible for the death of the promising black female Kada Scott. How many domestic violence murders does the city have to endure, sir? How many more grieving families will have to go through the same type of tragedy before you admit you're a failed civil rights lawyer, not a prosecutor?
Sir, putting aside your wildly disrespectful approach to what's happening here, your complete absence of kindness and compassion, which is exactly what is contained in this request from the family, putting that aside, I would bring you back to this. Please honor Kada's memory by showing kindness and care to one another, just as she did every day of her life. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I've got a second question, sir. You took 5 from CBS. Where are you going? Hey, Larry, you have to wake up at 3:30. You said some of these bail magistrates don't want people woken up at 3:37.